everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Bro Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Now that we have my mouth in order, I hope you guys had a great week. I'll be glad when spring really shows up. I'm tired of being cold. The rain is killing me, but I gotta tell you, I got a little inspiration last night. Oh, thank you, Stewart Speaker Series out of Indianapolis. I got a chance to hear the Reverend Barber last night. Yes, of the Poor People's Campaign. I'm telling you, he brought the fire. He brought the funk. He is my spirit minister. I don't have a minister at the moment, but if I had one, I'd want him to be it. He is a call and response Southern minister. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. He brought the funk, and he talked about, listen, we all got to work together some kind of way if we really want to end this poverty thing, and it's all tied up into policies. And he went after some Dems, he went after some repubs, but basically he said, look, if we have enough money to fight wars, we got enough money to take care of our low wage and struggling individuals out here in America, and we could do better. And I'm telling you what, he talked about, don't talk about you being a Christian and you don't want to help the least of these. Come on. So I'm telling you, excuse me, I'm telling you, it was amazing. It was a good time. And of course, one of my heroes was on the stage. I had to take an opportunity to ask a question. You know what I'm saying? I did. So, but I asked about sustainability and how do you keep a movement like that going? Because, I'm always working on a movement here in Indiana, and I'm always trying to figure out a way to get you guys started. All right, let's get to my rant today. Excuse me. Alexandra Appleton of Chalkbeat reports, Indiana plans to channel up to $15 million in federal emergency funds directly to parents to pay for tutoring for students who are struggling with reading and math. Dubbed Enrichment Scholarship, the voucher-like program, and I hate that word, y'all know I do, will provide each student who qualifies through their scoring on state tests a $500 grant toward tutoring. The Indiana Department of Education is still developing the details of who will qualify and how parents will access the money, and there's no date yet for the rollout, okay? Now, listen, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I always want to look at Representative Banning kind of side-eyed because, his whole goal is to privatize public education. We heard last week from Nan Polk that she was in a conference with him, and all he cares about is sending voucher monies to private institutions. So I'm always looking at him side-eyed. So you guys need to pay attention to this little scholarship thing. And Indiana is unique, as we are the only people going to be using federal pandemic relief money for elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds. So understand, they're using money for kids who need tutoring. And I obviously have no issue with that, right? I'm always talking about how we've got to figure out a way to help our students. I think this is a great way to use those dollars. But y'all, watch this program and see who gets the money, because we want to make sure it's going to people who actually could use it, and they're going to use it on reputable tutors. If you see Indiana's own Dana Black turn up on an application for some grant money to be a qualified tutor, I'm going to need y'all to look at that application side-eyed, because I'm no tutor. That's what I'm saying to you. Just like how those federal relief funds came and they were supposed to be for small businesses, and we saw the big businesses gobble them up because there wasn't rules in place. They didn't break any laws, right? But it was kind of unethical. Let's watch this program, because I believe this is a good thing, because if parents need help getting their kids tutors, why wouldn't we try to help them out with a $500 scholarship to help their kids make up on those stuff? Or we could just stop giving that silly test. I mean, that's a thought. All right. State officials. I know y'all excited about this one. All you tax wonks out there. State officials will start sending out your $125 payments late next month under the state's automatic taxpayer refund law. Although the timeline announced Wednesday for those payments is several months longer than previously outlined. Those payments are being made because of a big jump in state tax collections, helped fueled by federal relief fund, COVID relief fund. So we have a cash reserve of $3.9 billion, right? And they're going to give $545 million back out to the people if you filed your taxes in 2020. I kind of wish they would use some of that money for some high-speed internet, high-speed rail, since they already got it. But y'all, I want y'all to not go splurging. I know some of y'all could use that 125, so I'm not going to hate on it. Just don't, I enjoy your 125. I hope it helps you. If you need it, this is great, right? I'm not going to begrudge anybody getting some money back. Listen to the state of Indiana just giving away money. Y'all hear that? The state of Indiana is giving away money. That means we have enough money to take care of people like we're supposed to. Anyway, this is one I want to hit on, and I want to hit on hard. My girlfriend Nicole had mentioned it earlier today to me, and I didn't know that it was public knowledge, and I just happened to find it while I was doing my research, as you guys know. Cornelius Hawker of WRTV reports, Senator J.D. Ford says he and his colleagues have heard from several of those people who they're wanting and urging him to support a bill to the State House next year that is very similar to what Florida passed, the parental rights in education, which has been dubbed Don't Say Gay Bill, because it bans public school teachers from discussing gender identity or sexual orientation in the classroom. As J.D. Ford says, it's troubling, disheartening, but I'm not surprised to see it. I think there is an attempt to put this one on the radar for legislators to start writing a bill for the 2023 session. Senator Ford says all the emails were written relatively the same way, which makes him believe there's a larger group sending out talking points for people to send to their legislators. Despite knowing this, all of it is part of politics. Senator Ford believes bills that aim to censor or stop conversations about certain groups of people shouldn't be a part of the legislative discourse. He points out how valuable time, in his opinion, was wasted this past legislative session debating and passing bills like HB 1134 and HB 1041, a classroom censorship bill and transgender girl sports ban. As he says, we had an opportunity to talk about students' mental health in the 2022 legislative session. We had an opportunity to talk about bullying and harassing students. We had an opportunity to talk about child care costs are expensive, health care costs are expensive, but we didn't talk about the kitchen table issues that affect Hoosiers. We got caught up on a bunch of socially divisive issue that puts people against each other. Okay, check this out. I have a real hard time with this Florida bill, and I'm going to interview some of my colleagues on Turn Left from Florida in the coming weeks, so look for those. But here's the deal. I exist, and if I am in a committed relationship and we have a child, and my child is in the classroom, and they're talking about parents, and someone says, I have a mommy and a daddy, and someone else says, I have a mommy and a mommy, or they have a daddy and a daddy, are you going to shut those kids down? Are you going to make them feel like their families have no value and no worth? That's that child's family. So once you start erasing people, you don't realize the harm that you're causing to that child, because now you have just sent that child home, making that child believe that there is something wrong with his family or her family or their family. I honestly think we're not going back in the closet. I want y'all to understand this. We're not going anywhere. We're going to stand firm and we're going to stand strong. And we will be loud and we will never be disrespectful. I ain't got to throw nothing at you. I ain't got to curse you out. I just merely need to exist unapologetically. And I will be here and I will be a voice. And for those of you who are not comfortable because you may live in a community where you can't be as loud and proud as I am, don't worry, I got you. I talk enough for at least 10 people, at least. They're coming for our families. families who pay taxes, mind you, families that contribute to our economy, mind you, families that contribute to our communities, mind you. They want to marginalize even more the LGBTQ plus community. And it's not people from Indiana that's making up this stuff. It's somebody from the outside, just like the dude from the magician from California that moved to Hamilton County to rev up everybody about CRT. Remember that dude? Where's he at? Huh? I ain't heard from him. Never did see his family. They swear he had here in Indiana. But that's his business. He ain't got to share that. Right? But they bring these people in from the outside because they know what it takes to stir up people. White rage is real. Piss off a bunch of white people, they'll do a whole bunch of nasty stuff. You don't believe me? Go look at the history books. I'm not attacking white people. I'm just saying white rage is real. And that's what they're doing. They're getting y'all all riled up. Christians too. Don't get the evangelicals all riled up. But you don't want to feed the hungry. You don't want to take care of the homeless. You don't want to make sure our kids have a quality education and teachers are paid. You want to attack gay people. We ain't going nowhere. We're here. JD Ford, y'all make sure y'all support my dude. You see, he's the only one that's been on the show every week. We got to send him back to the State House because he is our voice in the State House as of right now. He is the only LGBTQ plus elected person in that entire State House. Can you imagine what a hostile environment that must be for him to have to go to work every day and fight for an entire community all by himself sometimes? Don't get me wrong, we got some great allies. Shelley Yoder, you know I love you. But this is ridiculous. We need to stop this before it even gets started. All right, that's my rant. Y'all know I love Hoosiers and I'll fight for all Hoosiers. But doggone it, you don't get to pretend like I don't exist, because I really do. And if you ain't heard me yet, I mean, my goodness, I'm loud as all get out. Lord have mercy. All right, that's my rant. Indiana's own Dana Black. Hey, all my candidates out there, if you need some video work, hit me up. I shoot videos, Black Pearl Studios. Scan the QR code and let's schedule some time to get your video up. And tonight, I've got 2 new guests to Turn Left. I love when we have fresh people on the show. I kind of do, because it's like you get new ideas, you get new visions. And even though one of them is running for re-election, he's new to Turn Left. First up, y'all, first time guest on the show, but a longtime friend. I have known my man for a long time. He's one of those people that think I live in Bloomington. I don't. But y'all give it up for my first guest, William Smith, who is a candidate for Van Buren Township. Will, welcome to the show.
Dana, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and hearing a lot about Nick's race. I must apologize. I have a rambunctious dog who has decided now is talk time.
That's how it always works. Everybody wants to come on Turn Left.
But one thing I would say is my dog Buddy, like my previous dog who unfortunately passed away about a year ago, they are the centerpieces of my campaigns because dogs are very important to me. And I like to, lead with my values when I'm talking to constituents. And when I ran in 2018, I was really wanting to, like with my previous dog Tessa, make sure she had a safe, home, and secure sort of family, me being her family. And I wanted that for all sort of the Van Buren Township residents. And so I really worked hard and I collaborated with my Republican colleagues because I'm the only Democrat on my township board. And the trustee is a Republican as well. And we worked together and we got ourselves more and better paid firefighters. We now have greater, I led an effort to revise our township assistance guidelines. We have increased income eligibility thresholds now. And if
wait, you just dove right on in. Hold on. Hold that.
Oh, sorry.
Hold that. No, you know what? I love it because you're excited about accomplishments and there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to make sure Did I get both the guests in? Because you know, someone's gonna look at that handsome fella and go, well, who's the brother up there? Y'all, my second guest. Apparently, this is a District 9 party. I think that some of the other districts are gonna get a little jealous. Adam Dickey got me over here. No, he didn't. He didn't do it. Adam Dickey's doing an amazing job down there. My next guest. Running in State Senate District 45, Nick Marshall. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being on here tonight. But where do you want me to start? You give me the question, let's go.
All right, so check it out. So first up, Will, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Excellent. I'm Will Smith. As Dana said, I'm running for re-election to the Van Buren Township Board. I also have a day job as an Associate Director of Academic Advising at IU Bloomington. I have lived in Indiana since 2004. 1 year of that was in Fort Wayne. The rest has been down in Bloomington. My maternal family comes from New England and my paternal family comes from Wisconsin. What else would be helpful, Dana?
It seems like you like seafood and cheese. Seafood and cheese.
They are both delicious.
I mean, my goodness, that sounds amazing. Nick, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Well, mine's a long story, but I'll do the Cliff Notes version of everything. Well, of course, my name is Nick Marshall. I'm running for State Senate for District 45. It is a new drawing district. It's now all of Clark and a little bit of New Albany, which is in Floyd County, as you can see behind me. A little bit about me. Since I was an infant, I was in the foster care system due to my mom being with alcoholism, dealing with alcoholism, and my father being constantly incarcerated. I was told that I was going to not amount to anything. I suffered both physical and mental abuse, but I'm the only one in my family to make it out. And that's because of the grace of the Lord. He put two fantastic foster parents in front of me. One was a farmer who put a shovel in my hand that taught me how to work on a 40-acre farm. His wife was a teacher who taught me gentleness and kindness. Mm-hmm. And the other set was a military veteran who is now in Fort Knox, God rest his soul. He taught me what true respect for our country is and how to earn it as well. And also his wife, who was a caregiver, who took that title to heart. In order to care, you got to give. And those two couples gave everything to me. And I thank the Lord every day that I get to hug my new child. I'm a father of two now. I got a baby girl that was born March 9th.
Hey, congratulations, Daddy.
Thank you very much. I'm a dad girl now. So things changed. Things changed so quick. Our first child was a son. And but I truly thank the Lord and them because I get to hug them. And there's nothing better than just having a baby rest on your chest and making you rest. I tell you that right now. I'm gonna not cry because I'm good. Let's keep going.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with. Let me tell you something. I was a daddy's girl until I had to lay my daddy to rest in 2011. When they and when they brought me home, my daddy told me because I told you everybody knows I'm adopted. But when Daddy brought me home, he said I was his Christmas present. So you know, and I was his shadow. And they say wherever Buggy went, that's where I was at. So girl dads are awesome dads, and mine was amazing, so I'm certain you will be amazing. I have some really good friends who are girl dads, and you got this. All right, guys, I got a question, and it doesn't matter. We can pinball, and if you guys hear something that you like that these candidates are talking about, I've included their ActBlue links. I'm always trying to turn these shows into fundraisers, so if you like these candidates and you want to support these candidates, you don't have to go very far. All you got to do is click on their ActBlue link, continue to listen to the show, and donate to these candidates because they do need some money. So we're going to pinball. If you guys hear something the other one says and you want to comment with it, let's just have a conversation. So, Will, what made you want to get into politics? You doing good over at IU and having a good time. What made you want to get involved?
I'd been a long time follower of politics, like a lot of people, you know, the water cooler quarterback type people commenting, having opinions. But as time went on and sort of seeing the direction the country seemed to be going in, which was not the direction I would have imagined, say, when I was 20, I felt like it was a responsibility to get more and more engaged, and that got kicked into hyperdrive in 2017. I was not thrilled with the presidential election, let's say, of 2016. And I was very scared about what was going to happen to a whole range of people I cared deeply about. So I threw myself into activism, trying to do things like getting people engaged and trying to preserve the Affordable Care Act, for example. And I was really worked a lot that year with the indivisible movements that popped up everywhere. And then I said, well, what can I do, to go carry this effort forward? And, I think local things really matter a lot. It's a lot of what happens at the local levels of government really affect people's day-to-day life, and what happens, in a way that, whatever the State Department may or may not, what your township government or your city government is doing is going to affect your daily life.
Absolutely.
And so I looked around and I said, well, maybe I can contribute here. And so I decided in 2018 to run for the township board.
I love it. Will, what about, Nick, what about you? See, I'm sorry. I said I was going to do a Will Smith joke, but I'm certain Will has heard all the jokes.
About me and how I got involved in politics, it was my wonderful wife, who we've been married for 7 years. And when we got married, she got me involved in a lot of volunteer work. And she's like, hey, come work over here. They need your help. Do this, that, and the other. And so I just kept being in a nonprofit and volunteer work. And when it ever helped somebody get out or have it be a success, I kind of moved off and said, all right, let's keep going. Let's keep working. Don't need no accolades for this. Let's keep making people be success stories. So one of the highest honors I ever got is I got to actually go to Frankfurt and speak at the foster care and adoptives award ceremony back in 2019, right before the pandemic. And so I got to speak. Of course, it was underneath Bevan, but we agreed upon this situation that we need to help our foster youth, because Kentucky used to be my old home. So we were there, and I remember looking at one of my foster parents came and watched it, and I said, I don't know what the Lord wants me to do. She goes, don't worry about it. He'll tell you what to do.
Baby.
He'll tell you what to do. She patted me on the belly. And that same night, I'm in dinner with my real sister, my biological sister, my biological brother. And he looked at me, he goes, Nick, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, what something happened? Do you want to talk about something in our past? He goes, no, I just need to talk to you. I said, let's sit down and have dinner and we'll do that. So then we finished our dinner and he goes, all right, I need to talk to you. I said, go ahead. What's going on? He goes, Nick, he goes, remember when you told me and us that we can't be superheroes? He said, look at you today, Nick, look at you. Up there with high level people that can make a difference. We can't do anything, as he pointed to my sister and himself, but you can do something. I need you to do something, Nick, do something. No, I'm paraphrasing what he said because he was yelling and cussing inside of the Olive Garden, and people were looking at him like he was crazy.
He was passionate about it.
He was passionate about it. And that's why I sat back and I let him say what he needed to say.
Yeah.
And in that point, my little brother kicked my butt. And it gives me chills to this day telling this story, because it was time for me to do something a little bit more. And that's what really got me into politics. My little brother kicked my butt. And so I went through this path, still volunteering. The pandemic hit, of course, still found ways to volunteer as much as I could. But I went through this path of my pastor, my community members, my wife. We went through this process for about a year, and it was time for me to step up. And that's how I got into politics. I
love it. You know what? Sometimes we have to be encouraged from outside, and I definitely agree with you on when it's time, the divine will guide you in the direction you need to go. I'm gonna tell you, in 2013, 2013, I had just finished, my graduate degree. I thought I was on a path to be a CIO. I'm a business IT chick. I'm going to run an agency. I'm going to run a department. And no, I'm just a loudmouth on Facebook now, because when it's right, it's right. But there's always an issue or a thing that can trigger you, right? Like for me, it was RFRA way back in 2014. Was there ever like an issue? And I don't care who goes first, and we'll probably go with Nick first. Was there ever an issue that triggered you into action? You said you did volunteer work, but was there something that triggered that activity other than someone in your ear?
I think what triggered me is going to the state house and interacting with kids who have had my past,
Mm-hmm.
and they look at me and they're like, "Yo, he made it. Oh, how did he do it?" And I went around talking to different kids in different schools and the group homes as well, and they just look at me like, "This is different, and maybe I can do it." And I think that kind of that that insulation of able to see that hope in their eyes kept me going in that nonprofit work. And that's where I knew I needed to kind of stay at the time to learn where how to get and advocate for people. But when I went up to the state house and advocated with those kids, there were politicians that listened and wanted to do the work, and there was politicians just sitting there nodding and just doing that. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that. You should be able to authentically talk to these kids or talk to these adults and let them know that you hear them and that you're going to do something about it.
Absolutely.
And that's where I saw too, going up, doing when 1134 went up to to Indianapolis. That's a different animal than Frankfurt. I sat back and I was like, what is going on here? Because this is different than what I've seen in the past. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but Mr. Will, go ahead and take it, sir.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I don't know if I have such a clear trajectory. One of the things I benefited from was after my mother and father divorced when I was very little, my mother, my older sister, and I moved in with my grandparents in rural Maine. And one of the benefits of living in a small New England town is the old custom of town meetings where you vote on pretty much everything. And my mother was not politically engaged at all at the time, but my grandmother was a very reliable voter. And so she sort of modeled to me that this is something you do. You care about the issues that impact other people too. And so while she and I didn't always agree on, say, how to approach those issues, she modeled to me what it meant to be civically engaged. And so as soon as I was able to vote, I started to. And I also think it helps that my sort of first presidential election was the Gore-Bush race. And you can see how important voting is. So I think that helped just sort of say you have to be involved. And then for a long time, it was sort of maybe donating to candidates, right? Maybe writing some letters to the editors, like during the Bush years. That was something I did a lot of in the mid 2000s. So I think it was a slow ramping up for me. For like many of us, there are of course a lot of issues that directly impact our lives. So like it was, I was in New York City in 2003 when I learned about, for Pride, when I learned about the Lawrence decision, for example. So there's a way in which politics isn't something just to talk about. It's something that really is your life.
Yeah. And so you know what? And that was so smooth, bro. Like we want to get to a point where we're not making proclamations and making major announcements. It's just a matter of fact. We are in all segments of life. We are everywhere. So quit tripping. And, when I think about all of the issues that we should be talking about in the State House and how some of the clown issues keep coming up, people are struggling, right? We see, inflation is real, and it's happened for multiple reasons. It's not one person's fault that inflation has happened. It's not, you talk, first of all, the pandemic is the thing that started it all, right? So let's just start there. The pandemic is the thing, and then we had to send the stimulus checks so people wouldn't be homeless, and then you got the fool fighting, wanting to invade and do the Russian aggression and all that other stuff. There are multiple things that have compounded this, and when we need to be focusing on people who are struggling, and that's what we need to have out of our state houses and in our township boards, and honestly, that's what the trustee is supposed to work on. I know that's what the trustee does. The trustee is supposed to help those that are struggling. Talk about every campaign has at least 3 topics when they're out knocking on doors or you're giving your speeches. And we'll start with you, Will. What are the 3 main issues that you highlight when you are talking about your campaign?
So this time around, my key big things, well, first of all, I always ask people what their questions and their concerns are. But I also, the things I always go back to are, I want to lead an effort to help increase community infrastructure in my township, like community garden, community centers, because we know people who have connections with each other, like, acquaintances, not necessarily close friends, are more likely to do things like survive a drastic heat wave, for example. So, these things may seem like, why do you want this? It's because I want people to thrive.
Right?
And in that respect, another thing is townships have very limited jurisdictions. I think we can do a lot with that. And I've worked hard to do a lot with that. But I've also tried to use my voice as to advocate for my constituents. This could be things like a person in my township had her mailbox destroyed by a road crew. So I worked with the county government and the company they worked with to get her a new mailbox. And then the last one is, and this is super central to me, is supporting people in need. So that's things like making sure we have the appropriate income eligibility thresholds, the maximum rent that we can, assistance we can provide because of our out of control housing costs. Things like we're considering maybe doing a food pantry because food insecurity is a real problem in my township. So these sort of community infrastructure, advocating for my constituents, and supporting people in need, those are my three core planks for 2022.
I love that. And and it's so, all politics is local, and you can't get any more local than a township board. I mean, when you talk about, that's a great story. When you talk about the mailbox, getting a mailbox can be $200-300. And the fact that you helped this family save $200-300, it's gonna mean the world to them. And I'm certain you have like a whole bunch of stories like that, right?
I have a number, and it can range from things. So like people who had complaints about sidewalks. So I worked to try to get, that's not the township's deal, but I worked and we're now have new sidewalks going into those areas. Will I say I'm the single-handedly made that happen? No. But did I help make that happen? Yes. And I had one where fortunately got resolved before I had to deal with it, but I was trying to find a truck because a constituent in one neighborhood, a person had died of COVID and had been sitting in their house, and the people who took the body out left the death mattress next door, and it was smelled very bad, and it was, the people wanted it gone. So I was trying, and they didn't know who to turn to. That's the case where I first turned to the county health department, and they wouldn't touch it. So I was literally going to get rubber gloves and borrow a truck and take it away, but fortunately somebody else hauled it away before I had to.
Wow, that's dope. That's what you call rolling your sleeves up and getting to work. Nick, what are the three things that you talk about and the issues that are the highlight of your campaign?
Yes. So the three issues I really focus on is, one is education. Education can be the great equalizer. A little bit more about my story. I had my education ripped away from me. I was presumed as a bad kid when I was placed in a group home, and they put me in alternative school. So I would set off in the side, get my work done, 10 to 15 minutes, say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, until a teacher looked at me and said, what are you doing in here? I said, sir, I'm in school. What do you think? He's like, no, what are you doing in this school? I go, well, sir, I'm in a group home. They put me in here. What else am I supposed to do? He goes, no, come see me after class. And so after a week or two, he goes, hey, I want to take you on a college tour. I go, the group home's not going to do that. He goes, let me talk to him, because I had lost all hope of going to college. But he got that approved, and I went on a Black college tour with him, and that instilled me just going to college. And I got all that alternative school, graduated top 10 in my class, and got a full academic scholarship to the University of Louisville.
Hey.
Yes. So, but think about that. One of those teachers was a foster parent. That teacher there and other teachers in my life have been invested so much in me. And so I want to make sure that they get everything that they can to support every student they can and what they can. And another one is, of course, economic mobility. You touched on this a little bit. I've been screaming, we don't know what is going to happen we've only seen the tip of the iceberg with this COVID-19 pandemic. We saw the just a little bit of it, but we don't know how long this is going to last. And I'm warning people that you're about to see an influx of kids going into the foster care system. People already lost their homes, people who have been living in their cars. And, I'm hearing stories about that here in my district. And And that's what's really going on. And we have to make sure that they are sustainable and able to move up and be able to give back to the community as well. So that's why I say economic mobility, because if you can't give back to your community, you can't pull somebody up with you.
Hello.
And the third, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just said hello. Come on, I'm amen. I'm amening you.
I'm gonna start preaching in a second here. Because when you started with that poor man campaign, I was like, yes, let's go.
Dog. Yeah. Another show, but I'm telling you. Okay,
yeah.
good.
But the third thing is, and this, I'm very passionate about this, foster care and adoptive care. If I don't know who's watching, I don't know who's listening right now, but I'm gonna tell you right now, those 10 to 12,000 kids that are in the foster care system in the state of Indiana, you can make it. I'm the success story that made it out of it. And if I get to the State House, I'm gonna get you every resource you need. And I will be an advocate for you. You will have a place at the State House. If somebody in your district doesn't let you in there, you come see me. You come see me, and I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna give you that voice to the table, and bring a friend if you have to too. So I'm gonna be a champion for foster care and kids and what they need. But those are the three things I truly take to heart, and I champion, and that's what I'm going to be about when I get up there too.
I hope. Have you had a chance to meet Senator Niedzgodzki out of South Bend?
I have not. I've had a couple trips to Indianapolis, but they've been very busy. Let me say that. They've been very busy, but I look forward to having discussions, and I'm about to have one with a couple over the Sherman Minton dinner tonight, hopefully.
Okay. Well, if you ever get a chance to meet Senator Niedzgodzki, I mean, he champions foster care in the same way. I know he could use an ally and support over in the House. But I think it's interesting that you brought up, how children are put in a track that may or may not be best for that child's, development. Maybe they're talkative like me, right? I was a talkative kid, so they put me in these alternative classes, not realizing this talking thing is a gift and a skill. You know what I'm saying? So even though you went on those college tours, right? That's one thing. Going on a college tour is one thing. What was the piece that clicked in you, and what was it that motivated you to say, I mean, I know seeing it is one thing, but putting in the work is something else. What was it that made you want to put that work in? Even, because I imagine if you were like me, I can't speak for you, but for someone like me, I had low self-esteem because, I wasn't as intelligent as the rest of my classmates, right? I wasn't getting the same grades, or I wasn't in the same classes. How did you overcome that?
So I survived. Let me say that. I'm gonna be honest. In education, and I used it to not get abused or neglected. It stopped some of the beatings, and that's for real. And so that's what I did. And so if I harnessed this thing and I took full advantage of it, and that's the way I found a way out. And so I'm not gonna lie to you, also, I faltered too in education. But it took people along the way saying, yo, you need to finish, you need to go do this. And like I said, and my wife was one of those as well. And I remember sitting down, we were dating, she goes, what's your plan? I go, get done with school in 3 years. She goes, I'm gonna need you to speed that up. And you know what? I got done in a year and a half, and I graduated from a university. But that's the thing too. Along the way, people kept telling me, stay the course. And I'm biologically one of 5, and I'm the only one to make it out. My older brother was murdered over 10 years ago. My sister, she's been incarcerated, but she's doing good. And my youngest brother to me took the rap from my youngest brother. He has a felony, gets him, but my youngest brother is now incarcerated in Vanderburgh County Jail. So you look at that. Why did one of 5 on us make out of it? Why couldn't it be 2? Why couldn't it be 3? How come it be all 5 of us?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. And so that's the thing too. How do we set up these things for kids to be successful, no matter what your color is?
Yeah.
Even though a black child does jump through more hoops than a white child, we have to realize that I have to get those resources to those children. That way that black child doesn't have to run through 2 or 3 more hoops than that white child. He can only have to run through 1 or 2. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I really harnessed the education because I knew it was a way to stop the abuse and neglect.
So you touched on something, and this is kind of deviating a little bit, but I'm gonna guess that all three of us have experienced some of this at one point in time, and it was something that Senator Ford mentioned in his statement to WRTV, and that is we could talk about how we can improve, children, kids being bullied and being harassed, and taking care of their mental health. Nick, you just shared your story of what it was like for you going to school. Will, if you have that story, and you're comfortable with sharing that, do you want to share that?
Yeah, for me, one of my challenges when I was little is I have learning disabilities. And I got lucky in the sense that that rural Maine town I was talking about, while it was fairly on the conservative side, one of the things they did believe in was education, and they were willing to put money behind it. And they were willing to invest in special education. And so I got, and I think this is sort of what Nick was talking about. You get people, right? Programs aren't just money and numbers, right? They're people. I had Mrs. Vernell and Mrs. Driscoll. And one of the things that I got lucky and that really worked for me is I got them for years. So I had a sense of continuity and consistency, right? Third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, because elementary and middle school were all one in this town. And then high school was different. And I went from being one of the lowest, if not the lowest academic performer in my class, because we were at the same people, right? To being one of the top. And wow. It was that slow turnaround. And when I think about sort of, things that are going to set children up for success, one of the important things is housing, right? I was in a handmade, sort of my grandparents and my mom and my uncles built by hand this ramshackle house by a swamp in Maine. It was moldy, right? Damp, but it got the job done, right? But it wasn't ideal in terms of sort of health conditions. And when I read Desmond, why can't I think of his last name? Maybe Desmond's the last name, but Jared Desmond's Evicted, one of the things that really struck me was what happens when somebody's forced to live in low quality housing, right? It takes a real physical, emotional toll on people that then makes it harder to do well in school, which makes it harder to do well in work, right? All these things just start building on each other. So we have to make sure we get the foundations right. Yes. We have to make sure. So one of the things that I was very disappointed about in the last General Assembly was the state Senate passed, this is a small thing, but meaningful, an enhancement bill that would have sort of been an add-on to the federal 4% low-income housing tax credit, trying to get more affordable housing to more people in the state. And we desperately need it. It died in the state house. I don't even think it got a hearing in committee. So these are things we could do, right? There are meaningful, directed, long-term tax changes we could do to make things better so fewer people have to live in substandard housing so that they can do better at school, get better jobs, and have a success story.
Absolutely. And the other thing that it ties to in being successful in school, and we already know those with a higher education have better health outcomes, things like that. But the other thing is it's better for the state. I mean, why do we have to hear about Intel going to Ohio because we don't have enough college-ready, college-educated people to staff Intel? Or a staple in Indiana, Eli Lilly's, built their new facility outside of Indiana because they didn't have enough people to staff it. This is an Indiana icon, Eli Lilly, and they went outside of Indiana. And I don't understand why these elected officials don't recognize the connection between housing security, food security, quality public education, and so on for the better. If Indiana is the state that works, we just got, but what? You don't want us to work for more? You just want us to keep working for less? Touch on it, y'all.
Yeah, so I want to touch on a little bit of the piece of the a little bit about what JD Ford and they were talking about too. Uh, if that goes forward, and as well as we see things as well, we're going to see a mental health crisis for our brothers and sisters in the LGBT community. So what do we got to do then? We got to step up our resources to get that service to them. Because me talking about our personal experience, I've been through the gambit. I was the nerdy kid that sat alone in class. I was the athletic kid at some point too, and then the new kid or the weird kid. So I've been through the gambit. But it took people helping me process these things and how to emotionally intelligence, how to react to certain things as well throughout time. If we're not preparing the kids for these social emotional things, and that's what scared me about 1134. You're going to wait 30 days to get somebody some help. 30 days. What happens in between that 30 days? And you can't even contact parents.
Right.
That's the scary thing. But what if it's the parent that's hindering that?
Doing the devilment, right?
Yeah, that's the thing too. But so I'm glad that we don't have to worry about that anymore.
But, yes, we do. It'll come back.
Yeah, it's coming back. It's coming back. It's coming back. But that's the situation we're at. And we're setting ourselves up for a mental health crisis that we don't need to. What if we provided the resources that the kids in foster care need, our LGBTQ brothers and sisters needed? What if we did that? That would change the world dynamically. And to talk about the economy side of things, why are we not investing in human infrastructure? If we invest in people, won't they invest in their communities? Won't they stay in their communities? Want that education obtainment? Want they want that and harness that too as well? And I had to fight tooth and nail to get it. And I think there's kids out there that are fighting tooth and nail from a meeting I had last night. I think they do. They want the best education they can do, and I think they want to come back to their community and help out too. But if there's no option for them to come here, what do? They go across the river to Louisville to get a better job, or do these things that might have better opportunity for them. And we shouldn't do that because we're leaving tax dollars on the table that could be reinvested back in Indiana.
I love it.
That's my rant. Sorry, I'm gonna stop there.
I love it. Hey, rant on, because that's what we need. We need people, in that state house and at all levels of government, really, that are willing to put up the fight for the people, right? I mean, and I'm gonna bring you in, but listening to Reverend Barber talk about the Poor People's Campaign and, what we should be doing versus what we are doing for people who are in need is honestly criminal. But go ahead, Will. Come on in there. We ranting tonight. Come on.
That's okay. And for those who haven't, I would recommend Reverend Barber's The Third Reconstruction. It's a very good book, very readable. And some of the things both of you just said made me think about, I really think township government, we have over 1,000 townships in the state of Indiana, and most people are not even aware that they're in one. It's a quiet form of government, but it's really, I think, a very vital form of local government that I think people should be invested in. As you said earlier, Dana, it's a place with the trustees work, with the township assistants, it's a real place to try to help correct a situation that might otherwise just sort of spiral out of control with rent assistance, food, right? Medicine. People who can't afford it and need insulin, the state of Indiana requires the township to give them, to make sure they can get their insulin, right? Yeah. We all know the spiraling cost of insulin, which is based on corporate greed.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of things township government can do. So one of my things I was excited to be on here is just like, you're not sure where to help with your townships, get involved if you want to run for something. And, I'm very lucky. I've been able to develop a very collaborative and productive working relationship with my 3 Republican counterparts on the board and the trustee. And we've increased our assistance to sort of collaborate the nonprofits we work with by over 50%. We've improved our rental assistance guidelines. We now have a better handling of outstanding utility bills, all of which is really essential, especially in a moment in the pandemic where people have greater than ever food need when they didn't have the means to pay for their electricity bills, for example. I think township government is a real good way to help some of the most vulnerable people in our communities.
I love it, and I love that you two are
Can I say something on that real quick?
absolutely.
So, yes, the township board is the place to go, but also a leak in the chain that we saw during the pandemic is communication. Because the individuals who were hurting didn't know how to get the resources, and they're scrambling themselves. And I've seen it all the way from the top to the township boards. But it took people in the middle of saying, "Hey, go over here, go get that. Okay, I got this information. You go over here and do this. These people can help you. Go do that." But it also took communities seeing people hurting, and it didn't matter the party they were in. Case in point, a food bank over in Utica, they started a Dare to Care mobile bank, and they don't get much praise. They don't get much. It's a small town, but they feed every Thursday. And I found out about it and so I started delivering food Thursday, and I've been delivering every Thursday for a year and a half.
Wow.
And the man came up to me a month or two in. He's like, "Who are you?" I go, "I heard what you were doing, and I'm just trying to help." He goes, okay. 3 or 6 months rolls by. He goes, "All right, seriously, who are you?" I said, "Let's not worry about this. Let's feed these people. They need to be fed." And that's what's going on. And then it really hurt in the first Thanksgiving. The cars were backed up for two blocks long. And I dropped off food, and he said, "Nick, I don't think we have enough food to feed them." That's sad. That is really sad. People trying to help and not knowing they have enough, and they're just banding together. But that's on a level that way of bipartisanship. But luckily, he said they were able to feed everybody, but he was worried a little bit. But they've been delivering for two years now. But that's the thing. We need people to show up and actually stop with this Democrat and Republican stuff. Let's just help people, because people need it, and they are hurting. And like you said earlier, it don't matter. It doesn't matter where you're from, your background. And when I left today, people just looking at their cars saying, "Thank you. I don't know you, but thank you." And that's the heart of the issue too. That was instilled in me by those foster parents. You got to give. You got to give. You know where people are hurting. And that's what I got to say about that.
I love it. And you know what? You said communication, and I'm glad you said that, because that speaks to exactly what Turn Left is all about, right? I don't know if anyone has seen it, but I put up a little Facebook about how much I hate the primary, not because I hate competition. I just hate when we tear each other down as D's. But like Reverend Barber said, yes, I'm quoting him all night. Well, like Reverend Barber said, it's not a left thing or a right thing. It's a right and wrong thing. And if we call ourselves the greatest nation on earth, if we call us the greatest nation on earth, then why do we have young people, kids, anybody, older people, anybody going hungry? That don't even make no sense. We're not talking about having diamonds and fancy cars. We're talking about food. A thing that you must have to sustain life. It's not an option. And the fact that we are the richest nation, we can give people money anywhere in the world whenever we want. And we know that our federal government can cut some checks when it's time to cut some checks. But we got people that are hungry and they don't have. And that, sir, gentlemen, is a problem. All right, I got time for one more question to each of y'all. This hour done gone quick. Okay, Nick, when you get in office, when you get elected, it's November, org day, what is that one piece of legislation you want to work on?
And it'll be the first thing that's on my mind. And that's getting full tuition reimbursement for foster kids and adoptive kids in the state of Indiana. And I'm gonna try to get room and board. It don't matter what college you go to, because I know it goes up to $5,000, which helps, but they need more. I know from a perspective, when I went to college, if I didn't have those foster parents saying, hey, do you need this? You need this. You gotta, you're gonna get a car. You're gonna pay for insurance. You're gonna do this, that, and the other. They need help. And that is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure they get every resource they have. And that will be the first bill I'll work on, and make sure that, my Republican friends, they are about helping children in the foster care system too. I know they are. So I want to help them put their money where their mouth is and make sure that we invest in those kids. So then in turn, if they go to a 2-year college, technical college, or a 4-year university like I did, they can turn around and come back here and reinvest in their communities. And I tell you right now, that's what's my first thing to do.
Look at you being all polite to them people already. That's cute. Look at them my Republican friends. Okay. Yeah, that's what I took. All that good stuff.
They are brothers and sisters. They are my brothers and sisters.
What?
They might be on the other side, but they are brothers and sisters.
I said this show is about love, and you making me show some. I love it. Will, you've already accomplished a lot of things at the township level, but what's the next thing you want to work on after being reelected?
My big project is to make sure we have carried through to my proposed community center and community garden. When we were looking for land for a new township office, because our current one is entirely too small, I pitched this to my counterparts and they liked it. And we have the land for all 3 projects now.
Nice.
So it's about trying to make sure there's the money and getting the timing right and the carry through. So that's in terms of my big ask for the next term, it would be that.
I love it. All right, fellas. So I know, Nick, you have to run, so I'm gonna start with you first. Do you tell the people where they can find you and let us know if you have any fundraisers or volunteer opportunities coming up?
Where you can find me is for HoosiersForNickMarshall.com, as well as I have a Facebook page, also a Twitter page, Nick for Indiana. Working on that Instagram right now. All right. TikTok. I don't have a TikTok. We'll discuss that later. But you can find me on those platforms or at HoosiersForNickMarshall.com. But I just want to say it's been a pleasure. Just dialogue has been amazing, that we have to highlight what people are truly hurting and what people really need. No fundraisers, no events. They're in mind, but I've got to get them. I've got to make some phone calls to make them in the dates. So I can't spoil anything, but we are going on what's called the Pathway to Purpose Tour. Where we're going to go all through Clark County and also New Albany to discuss things with constituents of what they want and what they need and how we can get it. And we're going to make sure we're listening to everybody. But be on the lookout for the Pathway to Purpose Tour coming to a city in Clark and in Floyd County and New Albany as well.
I love it. Will, you got any events coming up? And where can they find you?
I do not have any events. People can find me at Will Smith for Van Buren on Facebook. And what I would say is I've already made my fundraising goal for the year. So I would encourage people, I don't want to hog resources. There's never enough to go around. So please donate to great candidates like Nick and others throughout the state. People need it to run campaigns. Campaigns are expensive. It's one of the less ideal parts of politics, but it's real. And to be successful, you need to be able to communicate with voters. That means mailers, that means walk cards, that means yard signs. So please support people like Nick.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry. Cause see, that's that Democratic love right there. I told y'all, Indiana's all in a black term. It's all about love on this here show. It's about talking about the humanity of people and why we are in this policy making business. Yes. This is why this is representative government, this citizen government, this grand experiment. I am so excited about you two. You guys got me all hyped up and everything. Tell Adam Dickey I'm gonna need him to share the love with some of the other districts. He got all the good candidates down in the 9th district. Yep, that's a challenge. That's a challenge to all the other ones. That's a challenge. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. I'm throwing it down. No, I can't say that because District 7 is packed. But y'all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and holler at me on Turn Left. It's all about sharing information to our listeners about who our candidates are. We know that the Indianapolis Star is not going to write about us unless we're doing something out of the norm. If you're just a good old hardworking candidate, they're not trying to talk to you Democrats. They only want you when you causing this controversy or a little something else going on. They don't want to talk to the hardworking people that are really trying to do good stuff, because if you actually hear from these folks in the Indianapolis Star, if the Indianapolis Star were to highlight a Nick Marshall or Will Smith or any of the other wonderful Democrats I've had on this show, then Republicans and people who vote Republican would hear them. That's why we do this show. We want to make sure that we always have a place to talk about who we are as Democrats and what we stand for and why we are in the fight, and we cannot ever give up. Y'all, Indiana's own Dana Black, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Nick, go have a good time at the party. Will, I'll holler at you next time. But in the meantime, y'all stay safe and enjoy your weekend. I'll holler at y'all next week. Peace.